Good evening, everybody. Thank you for showing up for the City of Kenedy City Council meeting held here at the City Auditorium, Room in Franklin Municipal Building. It's now 6 o'clock. We're going to get the November 10th, 2020 City Council meeting started. We do have a quorum present. Amanda, please call roll.
Councilor Wynn?
Here.
Councilor Bennett?
Present.
Councilor Collins? Here. Councilor Collins? Here. Councilor Meyer?
Here.
All attended.
Moving on to the prayer. Leslie, can you say the prayer, please?
Well, thank you, Heavenly Father, for allowing us to be here in person. We ask that you would help us to walk through and guide us through what we're going to go, what we're going to do tonight. We're able to accomplish all the tasks we have before, and we continue to work to look better and not in your Son's name we pray.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Going on number 5, citizen comments. Amanda, we got any comments?
We have one from David City.
Good evening, Council. This was an unplanned visit. I happened to be out in the parking lot, and a fine gentleman told me to go to the fire department and stop and ask some questions. I have some information here. I represent Dayco Fire Equipment. We happen to have a demo that was in the area. It's out in the parking lot at the very moment, and one of your councilmen have pictures of it already, but I'm going to give you some resolution. We have all kinds of fire equipment. It's that time of year. Speaking with the fire chief myself, I only wish that I had the opportunity to get to everybody, but sometimes information is power, so we brought you some stuff to look at. We'd like to maybe extend a hand and be able to help you. Appreciate you in a couple months of your time. We'll leave here at the end of the day what you guys can think.
Thank you. Anybody else for public comments? Moving on to item number 6, consideration, possible action in regard to resolution 2031, the resolution of the City Council of the City of Kenedy, Texas, approving the canvass of the November 3rd, 2020 general election and declaring the results of such election. Motion by Leslie.
I'll second that.
Second by Brenda. Discussion? Good. Mr. Hunt? Presentation?
Yes, thank you. Those who are in, I believe Ms. Hines has the official ballot tallies there. We're going to need 2 counselors, since we have a form here to go through the time to actually verify the results of Kansas registration. Actually, yes, Councilor Connor, Councilor Meyer, and Councilor Miller, of course, please. Thank you.
Absentee voting, 755 early voting, 261 on election day, and a total ballots cast of 1,196 votes. For District 2, for absentee voting, we had 29 votes. Early voting, 113. Election day, 41, for a total of 183 votes. District 4, We had 47 absentee votes, 164 early votes, 50 on election day, for a total of 261 ballots cast. The total amount of votes cast during absentee voting was 256, 1,032 by early voting, and 352 votes were cast on election day. The total number of votes cast in this election was 1,640 votes. So therefore, Joe E. Baker is hereby declared elected to the office of mayor. John Rodriguez is hereby declared to the office of council member. And James Douglas Meyer is hereby elected to the office of council member.
Thank you. Moving on to item 7, issue oath of office to mayor and council districts numbers 2 and 4. Jumping ahead. Okay, with that being said, do you have any more discussion? If there's no other discussion, Amanda, please call roll.
I'll go ahead and make a motion that we approve resolution number 20-31.
And I'll second that.
Motion by Justin, second by Brenda. Any other discussion? If there's no other discussion, Amanda, please call roll.
Councilor Wynn? Yes. Councilor Graham?
Yes.
Councilor Thomas?
Yes.
Councilor Thomas?
Yes.
Councilor Ryan?
Yes.
All clear.
Motion passed. Now moving on to item 7, issue oath of office to mayor and council districts number 2 and number 4. Provide oath of office to mayor and council districts number 2 and 4. Issue certificates of election to mayor and council districts number 2 and number 4. Motion for item 7.
Make a motion to consider item 7 on the agenda.
Motion by Leslie,
I'll second that.
second by Sid. Discussion. Issue.
Ms. Hines is going to conduct this different than the years past with COVID-19. She's going to do it one at a time, so we can social distance while we check. Ms. Hines, forward, please.
Mr. Baker? I will give you a mic so they can hear you.
I, Joe Baker,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully execute the duties of office
that I will faithfully execute the duties of office
of City of Kenedy,
of the City of Kenedy, Maine,
of the State of Texas,
of the State of Texas,
and will to the best of my ability
and will to the best of my ability
preserve, protect, and defend
preserve, protect, and defend
the Constitution and laws
the Constitution and laws
of the United States and of this state.
of the United States and of the state.
So help me God.
So help me God.
I also solemnly swear
I also solemnly swear
that I have not directly or indirectly paid,
that I have not directly or indirectly paid,
offered, promised to pay,
offered, promised to pay,
contributed, or promised to contribute
contributed, or promised to contribute
any money or thing of value,
any money or thing of value,
or promised any public office or employment
or promised any public office or employment
for the giving or withholding of a vote
for the giving or withholding of a vote
at the election at which I was elected,
at the election at which I was elected,
or as a reward to secure my appointment or confirmation,
or as a reward to secure my appointment or confirmation,
whichever the case may be,
whichever the case may be.
so help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations. You can take your seat. After we do this on Mr. Rodriguez?
I, John Rodriguez,
Do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear and affirm
that I will faithfully execute the duties
that I will faithfully execute the duties
of the office of Councilman of the State
of the office of Counselor of District 2
of the State of Texas,
of the State of Texas,
and will to the best of my ability
and will to the best of my ability
preserve, protect, and defend
preserve, protect, and defend
the Constitution and laws
the Constitution and laws
of the United States and of this state,
of the United States and of this state,
so help me God.
so help me God.
I also solemnly swear
I also solemnly swear
that I have not directly or indirectly paid,
that I have not directly or indirectly paid,
offered, promised to pay, or contributed,
offered, or promised to pay or contributed,
or promised to contribute any money or thing of value,
or promised to contribute any money or thing of value,
or promised any public office or employment
or promised any public office or employment
for the giving or withholding of a vote at the election
for the giving or withholding of a vote at the election
at which I was elected,
at which I was elected,
or as a reward to secure my appointment,
or as a reward to secure my appointment,
whichever the case may be,
whichever the case may be.
so help me God.
So help me God.
Mr. Myers?
I, James Douglas Myers, do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully execute the duties
that I will faithfully execute the duties
of Council for District 4
of Counselor in District 4
of the State of Texas,
of the State of Texas,
and will to the best of my ability
and will, to the best of my ability,
preserve, protect, and defend
preserve, protect, and defend
the Constitution and laws of the United States
the Constitution and laws of the United States
and of the state, so help me God.
and of this state, so help me God.
I also solemnly swear
I also solemnly swear
that I have not directly or indirectly paid,
that I have not directly or indirectly paid,
offered, promised to pay, or contributed,
offered, promised to pay, or contributed,
or promised to contribute any money or thing of value,
or promised to contribute anything of money or value,
or promised any public office or employment
or promised any public office or employment
for the giving or withholding of a vote
for the giving or withholding of a vote
at the election at which I was elected,
at the election at which I was elected,
or as a reward to secure my appointment,
or as a reward to secure my appointment,
whichever the case may be,
whichever the case may be,
so help me God.
so help me God. out in the city. The floor. Thank you, Mr. Lynn. Check to see if the budget is
How's that? Oh, there we go.
how much time on this?
Let me bring the volume down. There we go. How's that? All right? Okay. Just want to say it's a privilege and an honor to be elected as your mayor. I've heard it said many times, the easy part is getting elected, the hard part is doing a good job. And there are a lot of officials in this room who do a very good job, and I hope to be one of those at some point in time. But I appreciate everybody's faith and confidence. Kenedy is an awesome place to live. It's where I chose to live and make my home and start my family. We love it here. But there are challenges with every small South Texas town. There are challenges that we have yet to overcome, and I hope we can all work together to make Kenedy as great as it can be. So I'm a big fan of short city council meetings, so continuing on, we'll move on to item number 8, departmental reports. Do we have a report from Ms. Hines?
Mr. Mayor, if in light of COVID-19 and the festivities tonight at San Diego, I will be breaking the norm, and I'll be presenting all reports tonight if you need this one.
That sounds very good.
That's over here just in case.
I turned it on.
Mayor, with my last speech, Mayor.
Yes, Mr. Lynn.
Thank you. Can everybody hear me in the audience? That's very good. First, I want to say congratulations to the 3 newly elected officials. Welcome aboard. It's an honor and privilege to have you on the City of Kenedy governing body staff and team. We certainly do appreciate all the effort and time you all put in and the dedication you put in over the future years that you're going to be serving us. I would also like to say thank you to Councilor X. Meyer and Kano, who has left the building, for their years of service in the City of Kenedy. They served very well in their duties here, and it certainly was a privilege to have them here in the short time I was here to work with them. So thank you very much. Moving on with item number 8 tonight, I'm going to get into the code compliance report first. So these reports are going to be much more truncated tonight than normal, councilors. We'll pick this back up in December, where your department heads will actually stand here in front of you and give their reports for you to ask questions of them. But again, because of festivities and that tonight, I wanted to move this forward, so I gave them all a pass. Okay? So code compliance had 15 permits issued. That was 5 building permits, 5 electrical permits, 3 plumbing permits, and 2 demolition permits. They conducted 10 inspections over the month of October. We had 20 residents utilized the roll-ups over in October, and 6 violation letters were sent out in the month of October. They also, because October was the first month where we did water disconnects after the COVID-19 and everything, they assisted with reconnection fees, reconnection services, I should say, to help individuals who paid immediately to get their services turned back on right away. So we had them out there. The Public Works Department, they received many of the brand new meters that we had ordered, that the City Council had approved for us to buy, that are going into newer technology. Just for the benefit of our crew councilors, this technology is radio frequency. We will be able to read the water meters from City Hall. We no longer have to have guys go out and read the meters. In addition to that, the biggest benefit to our residents, other than more accuracy, is going to be the fact that there's now an app that they can put on their phones or their tablets, and they can pretty much in real time see their water usage. So if they begin to see a spike in their water right away, they can call City Hall right away, we can get on it right away, rather than waiting a month of this going on until we got new how to use it. So that was a very good news about the City Council. They sent out some water outage letters for Victoria Street. As you all know, there's some work on Victoria Street, posted some lines there. The Public Works Director did speak with Mr. Rodriguez with the TCEQ concerning a violation regarding the population, connections, and capacities. For those of you all who aren't aware, we had an engineering firm come in here and they did a report. And they sent that report to TCEQ. TCEQ came back and said we were in violation, that we had too many connections on our water line. Mr. Higgins, with his many years of experience, reached back out to TCEQ, they reworked the numbers, and that number has dropped dramatically. The issue at hand was how they were fitting in the connection to the prison, and they were doing the prison 1-for-1 instead of 3-for-1. So they cut that number to prison in half by 2/3. So that alone is helping us out there at TCEQ. There were several boil water notices issued for Victoria Street in the area. All that information was sent to TCEQ with that, as well as the rescinding notices when the work was done and the water was restored and samples were taken. So we did take care of all that. We did have compared letters for lead and copper for the CCM notice, for TCEQ. I'll get more into that in the city manager report. I'm going to address that, but we did get that out. In addition to all of that, just for those who don't know, we're required to take samples of 40 stations twice a year, from January through June and July to December. And like I said, I'll address this more later, but we are currently have sent off the samples for July to December. We've already wrapped up all the samples, collected everything, sent it off, the letter's been sent to TCEQ. So we're way well ahead of the curve for the second half. Okay. There were several projects. We had a sewer line extension going up Grand Road, which with the rains that we had, it looks like it alleviated a lot of the issues that the residents on Grand Road had before. We realized the cost of dust and things of that nature. While empathetic with the residents on Grand Road for that, the new sewer line is going to provide a longer lasting benefit than that. We've got the cruiser going up there, and we've done the roads there where it was all cut out there. We have a contractor cleaning up the ball complex, doing some of the concrete work out there. The dugouts look like they were bleeding through, things of that nature, so we've got all that going back there. And the ball complex moving along with that. We have the prison and Park Place Landing. It had some issues with the water. So one of our resolutions to that was to order a hydrostatic meter for each one, which no longer requires the little dial or the digital. It reads the water straight down electronically, and it captures every single gallon that goes through. It'll be on the new system with the antenna that'll report back. I've already spoken to the people at Park Place Landing, and I've informed them that with the newer meter, typically what happens is that older meters are designed to fail on the side of the consumer. So for every 10 gallons they get built, they're using 12 or 13. Whenever you change that many meters, what happens is you have new technology, new equipment, it reads more accurately. When we type of static meters, it's even more accurate than that. So I've already prepared them to watch their bills to go up when these new meters are in the water. So I've already spoken to them on that. Working on Pecon Street to replace the sewer main. Phase 2 at the sewer plant is on track. We're still moving along there, and not taking care of. We'll finish that one on time and within budget. There have been several certificates of delivery for Tier 3 public notice to consumers. One thing Mr. Higgins wanted to address tonight, and I talked about it, it appears that the city of Kenedy has been Stage 3 and Stage 4 water restrictions for a very long time. Once again, Mr. Higgins has worked the numbers, and I believe in December when he stands here, he's going to have very excellent news for the governing body and the residents of Kenedy. I've seen the numbers, and it is really looking like we are going to come off Stage 3. I'm not sure if we're going to go straight to Stage 2 or if the numbers are going to support us going to Stage 1. But I'll let Mr. Higgins present that to you guys next month. But it is looking very good for the city of Kenedy at this point. So some of the other things that are reported, we produced 48 million gallons of water in the month of October. And we had 1 million gallons of water lost, or about 2.8%. There were no violations on the wastewater side in October. The monthly effluent report has already been submitted to TCEQ. The September's DMR was completed and sent to TCEQ, and Public Works has completed the second half of the bio-monitoring as well. So they're well on with their supposed to be doing. Our street department, in case you've seen it, haven't seen them out, they've been active. I want to pass out some kudos to the street department before I get into this. Our street department has picked up the slack in the time that we needed to pick up the slack to help out all the other departments with it. And I'm very thankful to Mr. Hernandez and his team for doing so. They've helped out at the sports complex, they've helped out picking up trash, they've helped out with water reads, they've helped out with water reconnects. They have just been all over the city of Kenedy, pitching in where needed. The true epitome, if you will, of teamwork. They haven't whined, they haven't cried, they've stepped up to the challenge. So I'm very thankful for them and their department. They did, and amongst all that, put out 132 cubic yards of tightly asphalt on potholes and road repairs. So that's pretty substantial when you consider all the other stuff they were doing. They were laying the granite and road base out at the complex every night at times as well. So they've been right there with us. The police department, oh my goodness, Chief Ash, kudos to you and your team. They have done something that's never been done in the city of Kenedy before. They've completed all the standards for the recognition program to be recognized by the Chiefs Associations. There's only one little phase they have to do, and that's an on-site visit. And when that goes, they're going to get this recognition, and that's never happened in the city of Kenedy before. So Chief Ash has come in the time he's been here. He has turned this police department around. He's making it a top-notch division within the state of Texas. So we're very lucky to have him as our chief. We did get one officer who received his intermediate certificate in October, so our officers are getting their training and they are growing up through the ranks there. The police department did receive its grant for the citizen self-reporting module. Now, this module will allow the citizens to go online and for minor offenses or items such as home watches, lights out in the neighborhood. I saw something come across one of our desks about a street light being out. They'll be able to report that like that. It was designed mainly because of COVID, but it has many applications beyond COVID. So it's a wonderful thing for us to have, and it's going to help the residents of the city of Kenedy go one more step into taking care of things. Halloween went very well. They had several officers at the trunk or treat out at the Ford dealership, as well as on Graham Road for the trick-or-treating, and Chief Ash has stated that the officers and the kids had a great time, and the officers handed out a lot of candy. So that's some great the terminology for the grant is COPSN, community-oriented policing, so that was some great community-oriented policing by our police department. I also want to take and give kudos to the entire team. I know that Mr. Meyer, he's very active in the community, and he is very well ingrained with the food bank. Our team has been going out, volunteering their time. We've allowed them during working hours and on the clock to go volunteer to help pass out food to needy residents in Farms County. And I think that's very important that we allow our team members to do these kind of things in the community. The community needs to see our team in roles other than their normal everyday roles. It helps build rapport with the community and all those people around. So I want to give all of our team members kudos on that as well. Our city secretary reports that we had one new hire for the street department and one resignation in the water department in October. Kenedy City Hall is officially reopened. We have our reopening guidelines. We have the little barrier that you stand behind. We also have the 6-foot apart stickers on the door. We have a hand sanitizer station right by the door and on the inside where the residents can speak to the clerks. And masks are still mandatory, so we ask that everyone just follow the safety protocols that are in place. But other than that, doors are open. They can come and pay their water bills and interact with everybody through the new little area that we have constructed. The municipal court collected a total of $39,141 for October. That broke down real quickly to $7,119 in cash, 137 in jail credits, and $31,884 in credit cards. Our Kenedy Fire Department responded. They actually were called out on 12 calls, but 3 of the calls got mixed before they could roll, so they only responded to 9. Of those 9 calls, they didn't respond to one accident involving an 18-wheeler. Unfortunately, that included a fatality. There were 3 grass fires, One gas leak, one vehicle fire. They did have to run out to a plant where a flare was spilling fluid, and they took care of that. They also rolled on one call where there was a vast amount of smoke on Highway 72. And then they pitched in a helping hand with our Kenedy Police Department to help them open the second. So some teamwork there from emergency responders. The Kenedy Fire Department, I want to give them some kudos as well tonight. Of all of our emergency departments, the fire department has been by far the most accommodating with the COVID-19 restrictions. They withheld having monthly meetings to abide by the rules of the city council. Even though we told them that they could do things on the phone, they preferred to meet in person, so they chose to wait. After tonight's meeting, this is the kickoff for everybody. The fire department is looking to have their first face-to-face meeting. They assured me they're going to follow all the safety protocols, 6 feet apart, masks, that kind of thing as well. And then all the boards and commissions can now go back to face-to-face. That was what the city of Kenedy put their written policy that was active tonight. So the fire department is looking forward to that, and I'm looking forward to them to being able to get there and to go back to their face-to-face meetings. Council and Mayor, on the department reports, is there any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Lynn. That sounds like a lot of good things happening in the city of Kenedy. I appreciate your time and your efforts and all the efforts of the city staff. I was remiss earlier. Before we move on, does that include 8 and 9 on the agenda?
No, sir. My report is still sitting on the bench.
Okay. Continue.
All right. Moving on to out of the power. If it would please my mayor and my council, I would like, before I get into my report, to do something. Today is November the 10th, and tomorrow is November the 11th, which is Veterans Day. City Hall will be closed on Veterans Day. I do feel that it is highly important that we, as Americans, take a moment of time to recognize all of those who have ever served our country. Because without their service, we could not be meeting here tonight freely like we are, nor would we have any of the freedoms that we have in America. So if it pleases my council and my mayor, what I would like to do is I would like to ask any of my council or my mayor who has served in our country, as well as anybody in the audience who has ever served in our United States Service Armed Forces, would you please stand so we can give you a round of applause and recognition for your service to our country. We truly appreciate the sacrifice you made. But military service is more than just your sacrifice. It is the sacrifice of your loved ones here in the States whenever you go across seas. So we thank you and your family for the sacrifices that they made and you made to enable you to serve our country, to protect our freedoms. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council. With that, as I mentioned earlier, I was going to address the CCN notice that everybody got. There's very few people who really understand how this thing works. I know Councilor Rodriguez does, as he was in Public Works, and many of those of you who have served in the municipality over the years in various forms of fashion or have attended meetings like Mayor Baker has and understand this. But for the sake of those who don't know, the way this works is that we are required to submit tests. Take water samples. You collect those samples, you send them off to a lab. Once we collect those samples, you have to send a report to PCQ saying, hey, we collected the samples. So what happened was, in the January to June time frame, we were supposed to collect 40 samples and send a letter to PCQ. We collected 40 samples. That we did. So we failed to send a letter to TCEQ saying, hey, we collected the samples. So what TCEQ did was they have a standardized letter, it's a boilerplate letter. All it simply says is, okay, your punishment for not doing this is send out this letter to everybody you sell water to. So that's what we did. We sent out a letter to everybody that we sell water to that says, hey, we dropped the ball. And we told TCEQ we dropped the ball, TCEQ said we have to do this. By sending that letter to all of the people that we sell water to, we immediately were put back into compliance with TCEQ. We sent off our samples, and those results have come back, and the results of those results have been sent to the 40 people where we collected the stuff, and then that report has been sent to TCEQ showing that. So, as of today, I can honestly stand here and say the City of Kenedy is not in violation in any way, form, or fashion for letting copper record it, because we did everything TCEQ told us to do. And that is why I mentioned earlier about the July to December one, we're way ahead of that curve there. So, I wanted to address that up front and get that out there. In addition to that, the City of Kenedy has really had some run-ins with TCEQ over the years. There was an issue recently with a letter that was received by the City of Kenedy on June the 10th from TCEQ. Again, we had an engineering firm doing some work for us. That engineering firm did some studies and this and that. They took some things out of service. More specifically, sodium hydroxide treatment pumps were taken out of service. And they sent this report to TCEQ. Well, immediately TCEQ sends back saying, hey guys, you got to reinstall those sodium hydroxide pumps. You had them before, you got to have them now. And they only gave us 60 days from June the 10th to submit the plans and specifications on this pump. Mr. Higgins and I put our heads together, knowing what we know about what's happening in the City of Kenedy. I reached out to Mr. Gager personally on the phone, and I had a nice conversation with Mr. Gager. On July 30th, I sent a letter to TCEQ requesting an appeal of their June 30th letter, and their June 10th letter. And I based it upon the premise of everything that's going on in the City of Kenedy. On October 21st, I received a letter back from Mr. Gager. What he had to say was that the TCEQ extended the deadline for the sodium hydroxide pumps from 60 days to 2 years. That's a very important number that you're going to find out in just a moment. They did still require us to have the containment tanks, but I also asked if they would give us an extension on the timeline of the containment tanks. He gave us 6 months from the date of the October 21st letter. So in short, everything I asked for, I got from TCEQ. Now, 2-year time frame is very important because Mr. Gager also put in his letter that if the City of Kenedy was to acquire a water source that did not require sodium hydroxide pumps, then we had no need to even send in anything in 2 years on the sodium hydroxide pumps. And that was based upon the data and the things that I had sent him about our new water lines that we're fixing to be putting in. So TCEQ is working with the City of Kenedy when we reach out to them to talk to them. They're still holding our feet to the fire on some things, which they should. They're the regulatory body. But with my experience, Mr. Higgins' experience, and our rapport with TCEQ, we've been able to navigate these things much easier than priors have. So I just wanted to let everybody know that's where we are on all of that. Prior council meeting, just so you all know, and forgive me, Mayor and Council Evans and Council Meyer, we had discussed the airport, and we moved $1.5 million of what was owed to the airport. We created funds for them. We're trying to right this wrong. Where we are today, the council had asked me to shore it up and get a final number of what was owed. That final number, as I stand here tonight, is $1.1 million. Okay, but in that $1.1 million, we still have about $240,000 of the taxiway lighting construction that's going on that we're going to continue to pay for. So after we pay for that, we will be moving to the airport to be square with the airport, $860,000. So once that's done, we move that 860 over, we will be square with the airport and all the royalties that was actually in them from way back when the royalties first started coming in. So I just wanted to let the council know I got that number, and that's where we're at. Okay. This is the part everybody wants to do. The Crusoe water line is currently ahead of schedule. The original schedule was on. DCEQ has already done the first test of the wells and has issued the green light for us to begin drilling. That is why on the agenda tonight you will see we're going to be awarding the contract for drilling the well. The DCEQ has already given their blessing to do so. Once we do that, we're looking at the drilling beginning in January 2021. The landowner asked us to delay because I guess he's got some honey going on up there, which is fine. So we'll wait till January. The time frame for that is we're going to start in January 2021. It's a very aggressive timeline, and we're looking at having TCEQ final approval to pull water out of the ground by July 1. So between January and July, we're going to drill 2 wells, have all the testing done, and have the results back from TCEQ by July 1. That's our timeline.
Mr. Bennett, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
And what about the right-of-ways? Where are we at on that? To get that over here.
That's my next one. Good question, then. Okay, so that's that. Along with Councilor Rodriguez's question. The field team has worked very diligently. When I came aboard in March, just for lack of a better word, I had to put out a field trial. I grabbed a hold of the reins, I put my foot down, nobody liked me, and that was okay. But the people in the field doing the work responded very positively to the direction. I gave them a very aggressive timeline, and they worked very hard to do this. So Mr. Brown and his team gets a lot of kudos on this. As of tonight, if you look on the agenda later on, we're moving quite a bit of money into the PP&E account. $3.8 million of that money is going to be a check that I'm looking to write next week for the right-of-way. This right-of-way, for all practical purposes, ladies and gentlemen, is done. We will be getting the right-of-way. We will be showing you that. Once we purchase the right-of-way, we can begin laying pipe, technically. There are some other things we are going to do that we're looking at doing, and I've mentioned it to some here and there, and I will mention it to the 3 of you later off record so we all know because of the sensitivity of it. However, we will be looking at doing that. Now, here's some things that we need to look at. Okay? So upon closing, we can begin the design phase of this. And when we begin the design phase of this, once we get designed, then we can begin to pipe in the ground. So technically, air quotes there, we don't have to start laying pipe until July 5th. Because we have to wait till we get TCEQ's approval to pull the water out to the pipe. Okay. So if we start laying pipe in July, say August. All right. So here we go. My goal is to have 4 teams laying pipe. I'm fixing to lay it out for July. There is approximately 142,560 feet of pipe to go 27 miles. Okay? Take 27 times 62 acres. Each stick of pipe for water is approximately 20 foot long. You can get some 40-foot pipe, but we'll use 20 foot to be conservative. Okay? That means, in order to get water here, we have to lay 7,128 sticks of pipe. Okay? A contractor can comfortably lay, depending upon where he's laying, some more, some less. If he's in a field, he can blow and go. If he's going through asphalt, it's going to be a little slower. But on average, a contractor, a good contractor, can lay approximately 10 sticks or 200 foot of pipe in a day. Now, if we have one contractor doing that, it will take us A long time. 712.8 days. Okay? Or 10 sticks a day. It's going to take us a little while to water Kenedy. If we run 4 teams, and we strategically place these 4 teams within 27 miles, we will be laying 40 sticks a day instead of 10, or 800 foot a day. So, that project will only last 178.2 days, and we can add a buffer of 25% for bad weather. That takes us up to 223 days. Break that down by a divider of 30, and you're looking at 7.5 months. If we start laying pipe on August 1, 2021, Kenedy residents will be drinking pure reservoir water by March 30th of 2022. That is a very aggressive timeline, and that is a timeline I intend to stick to. These residents have waited way too long for water. There's no excuse for this. We have the capability. So, some numbers there for you guys on that. Any questions on the city manager report tonight?
Any questions from the council?
I would like to get in your time frame, an organizational chart of all the employees under you, whenever you can get it ready. I think that would be a good thing for the council, for all of us to have. So we can know, who's got what, who's certified in what, who's the boss over here, who's the boss over the street, an organizational chart.
I understand. Yes, sir. If it's on my list of things to do, and I will get that to you guys as soon as I can.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. Okay, moving on to the financials. For those of you that are new, I put out this little sheet right here. It's color-coded and everything. This gives you the big breakdown of the city of Kenedy and where we are. So if we look at it, we're going to start on the left-hand side of the paper. It says available liquidity. Available liquidity is what we call cash equivalents. It's anything we can convert to cash within a year at the most. So this is our textbook account. In our general fund textbook account, we have roughly about $7.1 million. In our hotel motel textbook account, we have about $2.4 million. Our water sewer, we have $1.8 million. And our paving fund is about $2.4 million. That comes out to about $13.9 million just in the textbook. Cash in bank when I printed the report was $3.4 million. It gives us a total available liquidity of $17.3 million. I'll get to that one number in just a minute. If you move over to the right-hand side, it says revenues. These are the revenues that we've taken in. The first number is our current period for the month of October. We took in $439,000 in the general fund. The year-to-date number will begin to go up. It's just in the cumulative total. And then the budgeted amount is $6.8 million. We have spent, or we have earned, 6.45% of our budget. Now, that number is very important because 1 month in, we should have earned 8.33%. Therefore, if you look out to the side, you'll see the words underperforming. When you're talking revenues, when your number is lower than your expected number, you are underperforming. You did not bring in the amount of revenue that you should have brought in. Now, the reason we didn't for the general fund is it was October. And tax money doesn't really start climbing the ranks and getting in our coffers until around December, January. So we'll see that number begin to jump there. We move down the line to the water sewer department's revenue. We brought in $883,415 on a budget of $7.5 million. We brought in 11.69% of our budget. So we are outperforming our budget. We brought in more money than we were budgeted to bring in for the month. That's a good thing. So when we bring it down to the total revenue, because while we do have funds, we're also concerned with the total government. We had $1.3 million in revenue on a $14.3 million revenue budget. We brought in 9.21% in revenue. We are outperforming our revenue budget in October, which is one of our slowest months. So we are doing very well on revenue. When we move down to the expenditures, it works the same way, going across the board. It's the general fund or the administration spent $450,823 in the month of October. Our budgeted amount for the year was $6.8 million, and our budgeted percent was 6.62. Since we only spent 6.62%, and we should have spent 8.33%, we spent less than we should have, we saved money, we are outperforming our budget on expenditure. So even though the general fund did not bring in what it should have brought in, it did not spend what it should have spent. So we saved money to compensate for the lack of revenue. Once again, a very good thing. The water department spent $445,945 on a $7.4 million expenditure budget. They only spent 6.02%. Again, it's below the 8.33. They are outperforming their budget as well. That results in an $896,769 expenditure, or a 6.31% rate for spending money. We're outperforming our budget on expenditures. So overall, in the city of Kenedy, we are outperforming our 2021 budget so far. What I'd like for you to do is look back over to the left-hand side where it says available liquidity. At the very bottom, you'll see this little gray bar that says months of expenses. This is an important number because as a municipality, we need to have some money in the coffers in case everything goes haywire and no money comes in. You've got to be able to make payroll and pay certain fees and things of that nature. A good number is usually 6 months. Most municipalities try to stay around 180 days or 6 months worth of money in reserves. Anything more than 6 months is not really using the money the best way it should be used. See, as a government, what people don't understand is yes, we operate off of tax dollars and revenue dollars from water, but our job as a government is to spend money, but not just to throw money out into the wind. It's to spend money intelligently to enhance the welfare of the community and move the community forward through infrastructure and things of this nature. So if we have a lot of money in the coffers, that money's not coming back into our community. Okay? Currently, we have 14.63 months of money in our reserves. So we have almost a year to do. So now, granted, those numbers will change after tonight because it's on the agenda. But, again, it's just trying to get everyone on the same page so you understand the kind of the numbers I'm looking at on the surface. Okay? All right. So, does anybody have any questions about the financials tonight?
I'm sure a lot of cities would be envious of that 14-month figure. And I think that's a good thing, but also if we're not investing it, like you said, we're not bringing value to the community. So maybe in the next budget cycle, we can address that.
Most definitely. With that, Mr. Mayor, turn the floor back over to you. Thanks, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Lynn. That sounds like a lot of good news, so I appreciate your efforts. Also wanted to, it's a little late, but I want to add my thanks to Council Members Cano and Council Members Meyer for their service. That's who had left the meeting. So I want to thank them for their 2.5 years here. A lot of good things have happened in Kenedy, and it's largely due to their efforts. And to my fellow new council members, if you'd like to say a few words, now would be a good opportunity before we move on to the consent agenda.
I just want to thank the public for having the confidence in voting for me and putting me in this position. Thank you.
Same for me. Sorry. I'm new here. I'm very thankful and grateful for being elected to this position, and I'm very humbled as well because it shows that District 4 not only appreciates me in this position, but it shows that they appreciated Justin Meyer's work as well. And so I'm really looking forward to the opportunity to be able to better Kenedy and move Kenedy forward. like we've been doing. So, thank you.
So the next item on the agenda is the consent agenda, where we will review the city council amendments and financials of all the council members. We're all presented with a packet that has the minutes included that are before us to approve tonight and the financials. I would open the floor to any discussion from the city council members regarding the consent agenda at this time.
Make a motion to consider item 10 on the agenda.
I'll second that.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion on this item? I found two things in the minutes that may or may not be need to be changed or corrected. Let's see. For the September 16th minutes, top of the page it says council chambers. I was wondering if that should be changed to telephonic meeting. Okay. If that was a telephonic meeting, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And then for the following meeting, on the last page of the minutes for the following meeting, it said the council convened into closed session at 9:16 p.m. I was wondering if that should be open session.
Yeah, that's closer.
So we convened into closed session, but the meeting adjourned at 9:21. So that should be open then? Okay. And that was the only thing that I found in the minutes. Did anybody else see any issues with the minutes? Any discussion regarding the financials? I'll entertain a motion regarding agenda item number 10, consent agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda, item A and B.
And I'll second that.
Motion's been made and seconded. Ms. Hines, if you call the roll.
Counselor Wynn?
Yes.
Counselor Freeman?
Yes.
Counselor Hines? Yes. Counselor Rodriguez?
Yes.
Counselor Meyer?
Yes.
Moving on to agenda item number 11, consideration and possible action in regard to acceptance of a bid for the Carrizo Aquifer Wells number 17, Carrizo Well 1, and number 18, Carrizo Well 2. Do we have a presentation from city staff regarding this?
No, sir, but Mr. Shepherd is here to present.
Mr. Shepherd, if you could step to the podium and tell us what you have to tell us. By all means.
Appreciate you having me here tonight. We, as city manager said, we took bids, and I believe that said that there was some in your packet of our recommendation award letter. We took bids on this project on November 5th, 2 p.m. at City Hall, and they were all read aloud. This is like I said, it's two 3,000-foot deep river wells in South Dakota. City manager drilled all in on all of that goes with it. We had 7 potential bidders, only 5 attended a mandatory pre-bid meeting, and they were the only ones that could submit a bid. And as the bid tabulation says there, we had 3 bids received. Weisinger Inc. out of Willis, Texas, Hydro Resources Mid-Continent out of Creedmoor, and Alcé out of San Antonio. With a range of bids from 2.5941 to 3.788 million. Weisinger was the current low bidder. We took all the bids back to the reference checks and checked references, and everything was hunky-dory. Weisinger bid, or a copy of Weisinger bid, and the original bids I gave to Amanda, we all filed. The original bid is being incorporated into the contract package. And the original bonds we retained as well, which we will return once the contract is executed. We were working with Kyle Corzab, who's a hydro job consultant for us. We both worked with Weisinger quite a bit over the years, and we feel that they are worthy of doing the job satisfactorily and on time. And we've also worked Since Steve Bell, who will be the main man on the job with Whiting, so we feel pretty comfortable and confident that this firm will do a good job for the city of Kenedy. So we recommend award to Whiting in the contract come out of $2,594,100. And all of it any questions?
I have a question. Have we done any work with any of these companies before?
Yeah, we've done with Allstate in the past, when I was through it.
We also,
And White Sanger's been around a long time.
Whenever we go into them, we once we were going that.
Okay, so they're familiar with us. We're familiar with them.
I noticed there's quite a difference between Welsinger's bid and the other two. I was wondering, do they, in terms of scope of work, are they comparable?
yes, sir. There's on the second page we did that, there's a comparison of all the pricing that they put into this. The main difference or differences or comparative prices was the costs. There was a big difference between all three of them, and it's all in how they plan on getting them or where they can get them. The rest of it was pretty close. That's the only item that I thought was kind of out of whack, but they are $136,500 per month.
Any more questions for Mr. Shepherd from the council? Yes,
I'd
sir.
like to add one thing to this.
Yes, sir.
I was present at this meeting, and Mr. Shepherd will testify to the fact I made it very clear to all those bidding, their bids to the United States. I will not authorize a single change order for a dollar amount on this project. So why should we do that? So the bid they got, is all we're going to spend on.
Any other questions for Mr. Lynn or Mr. Shepherd from the council regarding this?
It's not to say that it won't go down. That'd be nice.
Yes, it would. Absolutely. So if there's no further questions or discussion, I would entertain a motion on this item.
I'll make a motion that we approve Weisinger for the amount of $2,594,100 for the number 17 and number 18 cruiser well.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Amanda, if you'll call the roll.
Counselor Lynn?
Yes.
Counselor Brandon?
Yes.
Counselor Thomas? Yes. Counselor Rodriguez?
Yes.
Counselor Myers?
Yes.
All three.
Next item on the agenda is item number 12. Thank you, sir. Consideration and possible action in regard to ordinance 20-19, an ordinance amending the adopted budget for the city of Kenedy, Texas for the fiscal year beginning October 1st, 2020 and ending September 30th, 2021 for the purpose of adding and funding additional line items related to the purchase and acquisition of real property. Any presentation or information about this, Mr. Lynn? I'll make a motion to discuss item number 12.
I'll second that.
I have a motion and a second. Mr. Lynn?
Okay. So, as we are a municipality and not a for-profit corporation, we have to adopt our budget by ordinance every year. The finance code requires us to only expend money in strict accordance to the adopted budget, and that's the way it's ordered, the adopted budget. Therefore, anytime we need to make an alteration to the budget, we have to do so by an ordinance. It's only an ordinance to modify an ordinance. A resolution or simple vote cannot modify an ordinance. The ordinance you have in front of you tonight is to modify our budget. We had a property, plant, equipment line that was put into the budget in the general fund with the expectation paying for some land purchases that we need to be made. And those land purchases are coming to fruition. We need to now move money from our fiscal accounts to that line item so that we can write checks to pay for these land acquisitions. This includes the right-of-way purchase that we need to shore up this week, or first part of next week. Get like 100 emails a day on it. So that's what we're doing tonight by doing this. We're just moving money from the textbook accounts to the property plant equipment line item. And throughout the ordinance, you'll see it's very specific to where it's coming from, how it reduces and how it increases. That verbiage is very specific. Any questions on that?
There's no further questions from the council. I entertain a motion on this item.
Okay, I'm going to make a motion that we do take action in regards to ordinance 20-19, an ordinance amending the adopted budget of the city of Kenedy, Texas for the fiscal year beginning October 1st, 2020 and ending September 30th, 2021, for the purpose of adding and funding additional line items related to the purchase and acquisition of real property.
And I'll second that.
We have a motion, a second, just to clarify, Councilmember Lynn, Councilmember Wynn, the action that we're taking is to approve the ordinance, correct? Right. We have a motion and a second. Amanda, if you can call the roll.
Counselor Wynn?
Yes.
Counselor Brandon?
Yes.
Counselor Sines?
Yes.
Counselor Rodriguez?
Yes.
Counselor Meyer?
Yes.
Next item on the agenda is item number 13. Consideration and possible action in regard to Resolution 20-32, authorizing the addition of William Lynn and Judy Murphy and removal of Karen Simpson on all accounts at Tech School and investment service for public funds. Can I have a motion for discussion on this item?
I'll make a motion to discuss item number 13.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Mr. Lynn, do you have some information on this?
I will defer the floor to City Secretary Hines.
Ms. Hines?
This resolution is done. Mr. Lynn has become our city manager when I've added him to our account. And these are accounting, fairly new, everyone has got the bank to be account. So this is just a friendly add in our resolution that has only recent action. And then the parents will be able to do this.
Any questions from the council for Ms. Hines?
How long has she been going? Yeah, out of town.
Karen?
No.
No, it was probably back when that video was edited.
Any further questions? If not, I'll entertain a motion on item number 13.
I'll make a motion that we add William Lynn and Judy Murphy and remove Karen Simpson on all accounts at Tech School.
I second it.
A motion and a second. Ms. Hines, can you call the roll?
Counselor Wynn?
Yes.
Counselor Brandon?
Yes.
Counselor Sines? Yes. Counselor Rodriguez?
Yes.
Counselor Meyer?
Yes.
Item number 14, consideration and possible action in regard to the selection of a certified public accountant firm to perform the City of Kennedy's annual audit report and authorize the city manager to enter into a professional services agreement with the selected firm. I'll entertain a motion to discuss the item.
I'll make the motion and discuss item number 14.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Mr. Liz, do you have some information?
There are two professional entities that the cities should theoretically seek RFQs on every 3 years. One of those is the city auditor, the other is the city attorney. Recently, the city of Kenedy already did prepare the city attorney. We put out the RFQ for auditors. We reached out to the previous auditor to let them know we were doing this, gave them an opportunity to submit one. We received one letter of interest. That would be from Mr. Donald Coleman. He's a certified public accountant out of Georgetown, Texas. I will tell you, I've worked with Mr. Coleman before, and I have found his work to be above reproach. Mr. Coleman is a very good auditor. He does not do the books for you, and that's a very good statement. To keep the separation between auditor and city. I
I'm just gonna leave it at that. Okay? I think that Ron would be a great asset to the city of Kenedy. Unfortunately, he was the only one who submitted, but it is in you all's hands whether you wish to award him the PSA or request for us to do that out. If any of you have any questions on this, Ron, I can field questions for him. I don't see him here tonight. I'm sure he's taking care of some of the books.
I do have a question. The cost, is that comparable to what we're currently, or what we were currently paying?
Yes.
Where do we advertise when we're looking for this type of service?
Normally, the first place you put it is you put it on the TML job board. That goes everywhere. The TML, of course, I don't know if you know, not really put it in Indeed, yeah. That goes out. Then the Times put it in several newspapers throughout the state. We try to stay away from some of the more pricey ones. But we did get it out. That's probably good.
Do you know the exact number that we paid with fire?
Fire, how much? 16,500. I believe the city had fire for
Long time.
yeah, they were with the city a very long time. And they didn't, that's-
I reviewed the information in the packet, and it looks like a firm with a great deal of experience and expertise in this field and a fair price. Any further questions to Mr. Lynn regarding this? If there's no further questions, can I get a motion in regard to agenda item number 14?
I'll make a
14,
motion.
thank you.
I'll make a motion that we accept the bid from DLA, Certified Public Accounting, and for the city of Kenedy to do the city of Kenedy Entity's budget report, authorize the city manager to enter into a professional service agreement with the selected firm.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Time, can you call roll?
Councilman Wynn?
Yes.
Councilman Graham?
Yes.
Councilman Klein? Yes. Councilman Rodriguez?
Yes.
Councilman Meyer?
Yes.
Agenda item number 15, consideration and possible action in regard to appointing one vacant board position to the City of Kenedy Parks and Recreation Board to serve a 2-year term beginning November 11, 2020 and ending November 10, 2022. Appointees to be considered and possible action taken on are Randy Garza, Kathy Chapman-Jones. I needed a motion to discuss this item.
Make a motion to discuss item 15.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Mr. Lynn, do you have some information on this?
Thank you, Mayor. Recently, the city councils of Kenedy redid the ordinances and is in the process of bringing everything into use and to get some continuity with how it's boards are staffed. In Parks and Recreation Board, they were given a minimum of 5, maximum of 7. They had 6. They had 7, but one requested to be off, so we felt we need to go ahead and fill that 7th position. It is now the council's job to appoint people to the board rather than it used to be the mayor's job, which is the way it should be in the municipality. So, that's where we are. The names are listed, and for those who are new, typically the way you do this is you start with the first name, take a vote. If you're looking for one, first under 3 wins. If you're looking for more than that, first number of those people that get 3 wins, seats. That, Mr. Mayor, I'll turn it back over to you, council.
Thank you, Mr. Lynn. Would anybody care to make a motion regarding this item?
I would like to make a motion for Kathy Chapman-Jones.
Is there a second for that? The motion failed for lack of a second. Would anyone else care to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to appoint Randy Garza.
And I'll second that.
You have a motion and a second to appoint Randy Garza. Any further discussion? No further discussion. Amanda, can you call the roll?
Council Wynn?
Yes.
Council Taylor?
Yes.
Council Klein?
Yes.
Council Rodriguez?
Yes.
Council Meyer?
Yes.
I'd like to welcome Randy Garza to the Parks and Recreation Board. I'm sure he'll do a great job on that board. Item number 16, consideration and possible action in regard to appointing 5 vacant board positions to the City of Kenedy Planning and Zoning Commission to serve a 2-year term beginning November 11th, 2020 and ending November 10th, 2022. Appointees to be considered and possible action taken on are Councilor Brandon Briones, Gretchen Dupnick, Gary Richards, Martha Richardson, Jaime Albiar, Alberto Valderramos. Can I get a motion to discuss item number 16?
I'll make a motion that we discuss agenda item number 16.
I'll second. Mr. Lynn, is it the same story, second verse for this?
Same story, second verse, one little itty bitty glitch here. Usually, it is good practice to have a counselor on the board, but only one, because of the conflict in voting. So that is why you see counselors' names on the ensuing one. So that's the little bitty glitch I just want to fill out.
Are there any other council members serving at this time?
No, sir,
Okay.
or not.
Any further questions for Mr. Lynn from the council?
I do have a question. So basically, the 5, so we need 5 people out of the 6.
Yes, sir.
And
It's up to you all to decide the 5. I'm just saying that it's always good to have a counselor. So if you choose yes, if you choose no, you are the council, it's your decision.
I just want to make sure I understood it correctly.
Yes.
Thank you.
Any further questions on this item for Mr. Lynn or discussion? There's no further discussion or questions. I'll call for a motion at this time.
I'll go ahead and make a motion to appoint 5 appointees to the City of Kenedy Planning and Zoning, and the 5 are Councilor Brandon Briones, Gretchen Dupnick, Gary Richards, Martha Richardson, and Jaime Albiar.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. There's no further discussion. Call the roll.
Council Wynn?
Yes.
Council Taylor?
Yes.
Council Klein?
Yes.
Council Rodriguez?
Yes.
Council Meyer?
Yes.
I'd like to welcome these new members to the Kenedy 4B Corporation. That's a very important group. They've been doing very important work for this community, so we're glad to have them on board.
Planning.
And
Oh, sorry, excuse me, planning and zoning. Skipping ahead.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I just need to interject one little item of protocol. When you're appointing people to the board, you must take a vote on each individual person. Okay? That is just so that, we have integrity throughout. Okay? We can go with what we just did, and moving forward, just please know we need to, each person gets a vote and move on. That way we don't, because what would happen if somebody 3 people got and didn't have vote? You go to the next person down. Just a little bit.
I can make the motion on each one. If you want to do it.
We can go with that. What's done is done. We'll just move on, just know going forward, this is what we need to do.
I appreciate you pointing that out. I'm new to the job and I'm learning, so I appreciate
Yes,
it.
sir.
Item number 17, consideration and possible action in regard to appointing 5 to 7 vacant board positions of the City of Kenedy 4B Corporation to serve a 2-year term beginning November 11th, 2020 and ending November 10th, 2022. Appointees to be considered and possible action taken on are Councilor Leslie Wynn, Justin Meyer, Luana Casper, Gary Richards, Larry Kiesling, Doris Pope, Patsy Martin, June Diaz, Joe Ed Ponish, and Beliki Leal. Can I get a motion to discuss the agenda item?
I'll make a motion to discuss item number 17.
Yes, sir.
One other thing, this one says 5 to 7. You all cannot appoint less than 5 tonight because we don't have 5 people. All our terms are expired. So we need 5 to carry on business. You don't have to appoint 7 tonight if you don't want to, but you can. So I just want to make sure to distinguish there. You got to keep at least 5.
That's the minimum.
That is the minimum so that we can do business for you.
Quick question.
Yes, sir.
I assume, but since my husband is on this list, do I need to abstain from?
When his name comes up, that would be the ethical thing to do, because
Thank you.
Any questions or discussion on this? I'll try to do this one correctly if you'll help guide me through the process. The appropriate next step would be to call one name and then call for a vote.
yes,
First name on the list for consideration is Councilor Leslie Nguyen. Ms. Hines, can you call for a vote this time?
Councilor Jones?
Yes.
Councilor Klein?
Yes.
Councilor Rodriguez?
Yes.
Councilor Meyer?
Yes.
Next name up on the list is Justin Meyer. And if you can call the roll on this as well.
Councilor Lee?
yes,
Councilor Jones?
Yes.
Councilor Klein?
Yes.
Councilor Rodriguez?
Yes.
Next person on the list is Luana Casper. Amanda, if you can call the roll.
Councilor Lee?
yes,
Councilor Jones?
Yes.
Councilor Klein?
Yes.
Councilor Rodriguez?
Yes.
Councilor Meyer?
Yes.
Next person on the list is Gary Richards. Amanda, if you can call the roll.
Councilor Lee?
yes,
Councilor Jones?
Yes.
Councilor Klein? Yes. Councilor Rodriguez?
Yes.
Councilor Meyer?
Yes.
Next person on the list is Larry Kiesling. Amanda, if you can call the roll.
Councilor Lee?
yes,
Councilor Jones?
Yes.
Councilor Klein? Yes. Councilor Rodriguez?
No.
Councilor Meyer?
Yes.
Next person on the list is Doris Pope. Amanda, if you'll call the roll. Oh, if
we have our.
we reached 5, okay.
If the council so desires, they can stop here, if they so desire, that's council.
You want to go to 7 to make all the terms, all these expire at the same time?
So it probably is more prudent to have staggered terms.
Okay,
Yeah,
thanks. You want to do the
council
staggered? Okay.
Is there a motion regarding whether or not we do 5 or 7?
Well, if we do staggered, that's only going to, like, for example, if we waited a year and appointed 2 more, that still means at some point 5 people could come off at the same time. Only do 2.
That is correct.
It doesn't have to.
Let's go ahead and do the second.
We have a motion to include 7 board members. Second. You have a second. Amanda, if you'll call the roll.
Councilor Lee?
Yes,
Councilor Jones?
Yes.
Councilor Klein?
Yes.
Councilor Rodriguez?
Yes.
Councilor Meyer?
Yes.
Okay, all in favor, we are going to include 7, so I'm going to call 2 more names. Next name on the list is Doris Pope. Amanda, if you'll call the roll.
Councilor Lee?
yes,
Councilor Jones?
Yes.
Councilor Klein?
Yes.
Councilor Rodriguez?
No.
Councilor Meyer?
This is this for?
Doris Pope.
Yes.
The next name on the list is Patsy Marchant. Am I pronouncing that correctly? Marchant. Amanda, if you'll call the roll for Patsy Marchant.
Councilor Lee?
Nope.
No.
The next name on the list is June Diaz. Amanda, if you'll call the roll. No.
Nope.
Yes.
Motion failed. The next name on the list is Joanne Ponish. Amanda, if you'll call the roll. No.
Nope.
No.
Shows 2-3, correct, Amanda? 2, 4, and 3 against on that one? Okay. The last name on the list is Felipe Leal. Amanda, if you'll call the roll.
Yes.
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 It's
7 or 6?
7.
7. I believe that concludes the voting. We have 7 positions to the board for the Kenedy 4B Corporation, and those members are Leslie Wynn, Justin Meyer, Luana Kastrick, Jerry Richards, Larry Kiesling, Doris Pope, and Felipe Leal. Is that correct, Amanda? Thank you. Moving on to item number 18, consideration and possible action in regard to approve City of Kenedy Mayor Joe Baker, Councilor John Rodriguez, and Councilor James Douglas Meyer to replace former Councilor Brenda Cano, respectively, as an authorized signatory on all accounts, documents at Texas Champion Bank. We have a presentation. I'm sorry, can I get a motion for discussion on this?
Make a motion to consider item 18 on the agenda.
I'll second.
We have a motion and second to consider number 18. City Manager has some information on this one.
I will yield the floor to Ms. Hines on this particular one.
Ms. Hines?
This is where the elections and committee members sign on for all of the accounts that are pending being members who contact prior and will be included in that. So what it means is that there may be times that I may call or message them about those things and text time, and they come to me at the bank or something and see what they're receiving for their government.
I would greatly appreciate you showing up.
That's important.
Very, very important.
We're going to keep the business moving along.
That's right.
Depends if they let me out of the jail.
Tell them. Gotta go.
So with something like this, do we vote for ourselves? I mean, how does this work?
On this particular one, you would normally still abstain and the 3 members not declare the vote in board on that.
Any further questions for Mr. Leonard or Ms. Hines on this item?
Justin wasn't on that.
No, it doesn't necessarily have to be on there.
If there's no further questions, I'll entertain a motion on number 18.
I'll make a motion to consider and possible action in regard to approve City of Kenedy Mayor Joe Baker, Councilor John Rodriguez, and Councilor James Douglas Meyer to replace former Councilor Brenda Cano, respectively, as an authorized signatory on all accounts, documents at Texas Champion Bank.
And I'll second that.
A motion and a second. Amanda, if you'll call the roll.
Council Lynn?
Yes.
Council Brandon?
Yes.
Council Sines?
Yes.
Agenda item number 19, consideration and possible action in regard to an engagement letter from Denton Navarro Rocha, am I pronouncing that correctly? Bernal and Zach PC for the Kenedy 4B Corporation. Can I get a motion for consideration of this agenda item?
Make a motion to consider item 19 on the agenda.
A motion and second. Mr. Lynn, do you have some information on this?
Thank you, Matt. Council Mayor, typically, it's customary in a municipality, I'm going to use the word customary, because it's not mandated, customary, that whomever the city uses for their attorney, all their boards and commissions use as well. The city was using DNRBZ until recently, whenever the city elected their workplace law. At that point in time, Mr. Santee from DNRBZ was still acting as attorney for the corporation. City council had asked, they had undertaken this at a previous council meeting, and the question had come up for us to ask the authority exactly why they wanted to use these routes instead of the city attorney's workplace. And quite simply, the answer from Mr. Freeman was, what? That was it. So, that was what the authority had to say about it. It was like, therefore, we put this back on the agenda because the council members asked me to do so. Once I found that information out, and so I bring this to you guys to make the decisions now. I will tell you, as your city manager, I personally prefer one attorney to deal with it, mainly because it provides continuity of advice. And when we're talking about lawsuits and legalities, we do not need several different attorneys providing advice to different organizations in conflict. So, however, that's just my humble opinion. We already consider your decision.
Thank you, Mr. Lynn. Does the council have any further questions for Mr. Lynn regarding this item?
I didn't have any question. I did have a comment on that. I feel kind of like we have a city attorney. 4B is actually part of the city. And it's been most of the they're part of the city. So for us to, as a council, put ourselves in a situation where we are creating a legal snafu that could happen is, I think it's a good thing for us to do.
I agree with that, and I agree that Mr. Lynn's statement that the city, if it's good enough for the city, it's good enough for them.
Yeah, I don't think we need multiple attorneys serving multiple organizations.
Yeah, when they, Mr. Lynn, if you can recall, when they budget, before we did their budget, was attorneys in there?
When the 4B was doing their budget, they did bring in Mr. Santee. We had some issues, some things on the budget, and they did get Mr. Santee against the city for advice. So I found myself as a city manager trying to go to my council to justify things and defend the city against advice. And I will also say, if it means anything else, when I came aboard in March, I found advice that was given before by Mr. Santee to be very wrong. And I had to correct that right away as well, which wasn't surprising. So that's just my personal view.
So, quick question.
Yes, sir.
If, like, for example, if I was to make a motion, does it need to reflect having our current attorney represent 4B? Or would it be automatic if I made a motion to take no action for agenda item 19?
No, sir. If you wish to have, because this is on the agenda the way it is, if you wish to have the request, our city attorney, you would have to make the motion specifying the request to be the
Well, then I make a motion that we have our current attorney represent 4B as well.
I second it.
I have a motion and second. Amanda, can you call the roll?
Councilor Wynn?
Yes.
Councilor Graham?
Yes.
Councilor Fine? Yes. Councilor Rodriguez?
Yes.
Yes.
Agenda item number 20, consideration and possible action in regard to the annual Christmas in Kenedy Festival. Can I get a motion for consideration of this item?
I'll make a motion we consider agenda item number 20.
I'll second that.
Motion and second. Mr. Lynn or Ms. Hyde, do you have any information for us on this?
Would you like everything? I try to inject a little bit of humor once in a while. Okay, so there's been a lot of stuff going on with COVID-19, and as I've come to the city community, I've started to learn about the particular traditions City Community had to do on the festival. Then, of course, we do the music festival or the Christmas in Kenedy. Christmas in Kenedy has come up quite often. We did budget some money for Christmas in Kenedy. But we need to decide tonight whether we're going to have Christmas in Kenedy due to COVID or not. And that is why this is on the agenda tonight, because there's a lot of people out here in town wanting to know what we're going to do and we're going to have it or not. And, you know, as I look at things, and I talk to the Times, and I talk to other people about the Christmas Committee and what it is and how it works, and that I have some concerns about being able to social distance, but by the same token, I think if we exercise a little prudence, it can be done. I mean, I saw, I'm going to do Santa Claus. I saw the Bass Pro Shops, they're going pictures of Santa Claus. The way they got Santa, he's there with a mask on, with the plexiglass in front of him, and they have the bench sitting there, and the kids on the bench, and it's all tripping. Yeah, I know, it's not like sitting on the side. We don't want Santa delivering COVID this year. But they're still doing it. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. Abraham Lincoln once said, determine things that can and shall be done, and then we must find a way. Okay? So that's really what we've got to do. We've got to determine what we want to do, and let's find a way to make it happen. So if we're going to do Christmas in Kenedy, then let's, as Coach used to always say, if you're going to screw it up, do it going 100 miles an hour. Don't do anything halfway. Let's do it 100 miles an hour. I'm behind whatever the council decides. So, you know.
I think we should do something, but my question is, you know, the previous vendors, like the carriage rides and stuff, are the vendors willing to do things with protocols in place, like for example, do a carriage ride, wipe everything down, you know?
Well, we may have to come up with some different types of events,
right,
other than what we did in the past, because we can't figure out a way to be in compliance. But it doesn't have to be that vendor. It could be a local person here that is willing to write down and do all the stuff, because these are our kids, and 2020 has been hard on graduates. It's been hard on parents of the graduates. It's been hard on all of us. And if we could do something out of the park for the kids to close it out, it would really, really touch the hearts of the kids.
Does anybody know what the hospital is in their holiday on?
No, I see you mentioning Councilor Sands. First, I don't heard of it.
Mr. Leal?
Mr. Bailey,
Yes, sir.
what Christmas festival, when you do it, Santa do it like trunk or treat. Have people give out little goodies as the kids walking by. And you know, they have the nuts, candy, and stuff like that. Have, you know, merchants, individuals, as long as you follow protocols and have it in a baggie, and the children will get something.
Exactly.
Similar to the Halloween events we saw.
Yes, and have a little goodie to remember Christmas. Because, you know, and we're old, we still enjoy Christmas.
That's an awesome idea.
You know, have people set up different little booths, set up your tent, your little canopy, and you can buy little goodies to the children as they're walking by. It's Christmas gift.
I encourage the parents to help with social distancing.
Yeah.
Is
Have Christmas music being played,
Yeah.
and stuff like that here at City Hall, and
Yeah.
little things out, but no more bubbles from the roof.
No
No more bubbles, because people slip and fall.
We don't want that.
We don't want that.
is the special projects committee still helping with this?
Special projects committee doesn't exist anymore.
Okay.
They all done.
So who would take on the responsibility of planning this event?
Are you good planner?
Would-
I will tell you all this,
We
okay?
can work with the chamber also.
Yes, it can work
Chamber
with
of
the chamber.
Commerce.
I will tell you all this. When I came down here, okay, little quick story, not that we need to, because Because our new mayor was doing so good on this meeting, so I got up there about it. I'm sorry. But when I came down to the Blue Lawn days, that was when Justin had me come down to introduce myself to a lot of people at Blue Lawn. And I was just amazed at what was going on and how it was going. Well, I'm in the office and I'm listening to all these things and, oh, yeah, we got to do this, we got to do this, blah, blah, blah. And I hear the Times talking about this music festival and all these vendors and all that. And I'm like, well, okay, so who puts that on? She looks at me and she says, I'm the one that thought all these people and did all this. I said, you did. So we have our own event planner already, guys. I say, her and the chamber, I can't see a better way to bring the city and chamber together and in that relationship.
We got to fix amend those fences.
Yeah, I think this will go a long way, that and Blue Lawn days next year.
And some people in the community that may have not been involved in the special event, reach out to them as well.
Yeah, they
For volunteers.
We're always looking for volunteers.
Lake work, yeah.
I know Jolene was here, I guess she left. Do we have a potential date? Because we're time crunch.
Do we know the date that it happened last year? Was it about 2 weeks before Christmas or something in that ballpark?
It was around the 9th of the 10th last year.
Is that going to be enough time? Like even, you can't ask Jolene for sure the chamber, I'm sure the chamber would help. But do you have enough time?
Yeah. Thursday, yeah.
Council, backing it up.
But I think we should do something, obviously with
We will
modifications.
do a festival, but it just has to be something different from what we're used to.
In a safe way.
With the clients, with
With COVID.
With COVID.
The concerns I have,
Precautions,
obviously,
we got it. Number one is the public health.
That's right.
the concerns I have are obviously the character rights. Those are touched frequently by multiple people. The ice skating, anything that's touched by multiple people,
That part,
we're going to have to make sure that
that part we probably couldn't do it.
Right.
Realistically, we have to accept that there's some stuff that we did in the past that we won't be able to do this time because there's no way for us to do. There's no way for us to do ice skating and have social distance.
Yeah.
Well, it's the same way like tonight.
Exactly.
City manager put it together, we're socially distant.
That's right.
So the skating rink, it can be the same. You only let so many kids in at a time. And then when they're timed up, you get them out there with their mask. It's time management. It's time management.
It's something we can look at when we go that road, and this Hines and I will get with the chamber, we'll put our heads together, we'll take a look and see how we can make it better for our kids, to do something. So tonight, we just need to make the decision that we're gonna have to.
That's something.
Yeah. You're gonna play Santa, right? Sure. We got Santa Claus.
I think it might work out if there's no way to extend that date.
December 5th or December 12th?
5th.
Do we need to include a date with the motion or?
That would be appropriate, so we have to
I don't
have
think I'll be
a
here the
date
following
to
week
that.
anymore, and I really would like to make sure everything falls into place here.
And I'll make a motion. I will make a motion that we have a festival on December 5th for the citizens of Kenedy, the children of Kenedy. And we do what we can do to keep it in compliance with COVID.
Needs to include the chamber of commerce.
And we will ask the Chamber of Commerce if they'd like to participate.
And I'll second that. The motion and second. Ms. Hines, if you call the roll.
Who's second?
Brandon?
Councilor Wynn?
Yes.
Councilor Leon?
Yes.
Councilor Klein?
Yes.
Councilor Rodriguez?
Yes.
Councilor Meyer?
Yes.
And that leaves us with just one item on the agenda, that is adjourned.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second. Ms. Hines, if you can call the roll, please.
Councilor Wynn?
Yes.
Councilor Leon?
Yes.
Councilor Klein? Yes. Councilor Rodriguez?
Yes.
Councilor Meyer?
Yes.
All in favor?
Thanks, everybody, for coming tonight. It's been a productive meeting. Everybody have a safe drive home. Good evening.